Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota Podcast. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Delace here with me. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm much happier knowing that Western Province will not be playing in Division 2 next season, whatever happens this week.
Yeah, no. Good set of results for Province to get through there. And yeah, just really good to see that they found a way to survive. But other provinces are not so lucky. And we're going to talk about that because there was a whole lot of 4-day series of games, a lot of draws, which kind of, put a dampener on everything else. But hey, it is what it is. There's a lot of rain this part of the year, and it's a little bit gloomy right now in Johannesburg. So I think from a Lions perspective, they'll be happy that they're not playing in Johannesburg this weekend, that they've got a game in Bloem. Hopefully the weather doesn't get there because I think the Knights are really need a win. But we're going to talk about that. Remember, this is the Full Quarter Podcast, your place to go to find out everything around South African cricket, domestic cricket, Proteas, the like. You have it. We did an incredible interview on Thursday with Sunit for Yun Lo. Please go check that out. Also, you can follow us on Full Quota on X. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube. That's Sunit for Yun podcast is on there. It's also on Apple Podcast and Spotify, so go check it out there. And finally, to help us just move a little bit further and bring you more content, buy us our coffee, buy me some coffee, or buy us some coffee. You can join the group of the nation that's growing of people who are supporting us to get this podcast going, to help us. It is a passion project, but there are costs to all of this, and all your contributions go a long way to helping us cover the South African cricket game across the various landscape of our nation. And so really do appreciate any and every contribution at buymeacoffee.com/Full Quarter Podcast. It's been an intriguing week, Tim. Very intriguing week. But now we've been announcing tours. South Africa's going to play Zimbabwe in July, which in my head doesn't make sense. World Test Championships in June. But they're going to play a tri-series against New Zealand, which I think will be awesome. And they're also going to play a test series against Zimbabwe in Bulawayo. So the Queen's Oval in Bulawayo, that's where the test series is going to be. And then they're going to move over into Harare for the Tri-Nations, the Tri-Series, 4 games. Well, not 4 games. The Proteas will play 2 games and a final. And that's going to be also quite, that's going to be in Harare, so that's going to be quite cool. The crowd in Harare is awesome. And then we also got a tour against Australia, a white ball series tour against Australia. That was announced this week as well. Tim, what did you make of the announcements this week? Obviously, in the wake of last week, with all of us saying we just lost out on December, but Australia, and then obviously we're going to Zim for that one, so no money's coming in there.
Yeah, look, I'd rather we had some cricket than no cricket. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather we were playing something rather than nothing. In an ideal world, I'd like to swap it around. I'd like the test matches to be against Australia and more of the white ball focus against Zimbabwe. I think from a team perspective, that would benefit both teams better, particularly if I'm thinking Zimbabwe and South Africa. That would benefit that series a lot better, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Schedules are very tight. It's very difficult to get test matches in when FTPs have already been signed off for the next couple of years. It is a challenge, but it's good. I'm glad we're going to Australia. I'm glad we're going to be playing some really good competitive cricket. So
yeah,
it's good. It's good news. It could be better, but it is good news.
But we knew that South Africa was always going to be traveling away this year, and we just had to get used to the fact that we weren't going to watch them in our stadiums. We were going to watch them outside of the country. So, look, I think it's going to be quite interesting for us to see, and a good preparation for 2027, and maybe to give the youngsters a chance. The Luandres, the Deva Brevises, Australia themselves will be rolling out their new people in the wake of the last ICC tournament. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see how that goes. One other thing we wanted to talk about was we have the CSA Women's One Day Cup for Division 2 ending this week, and then I think in this next couple of weeks. It ends on the 2nd, I think. And what is interesting, obviously, we know that this season the Knights, it was a 2-year promotion relegation. The Knights are the team that unfortunately will be going down, but there are a few teams that could potentially be coming up, and this week is so crucial for them to try and come up and see if they can. They're all playing in Bloom, funny enough, to come up and to win and to see if they can make it through. From a promotion relegation perspective, the Northwest Dragons are looking really, really good there, Tim. And then you've got Easterns, you've got Eastern Province also looking to knock on the door. What does it mean from a promotion perspective for the ladies, Tim, in Division 2? Obviously, I see Northwest up there, but what do they need to do to get themselves promoted?
So Division 2 is based on performances in the One Day Cup. They do play the T20 competition, but it doesn't take into consideration that in terms of promotion. So their promotion ramifications are purely based on the One Day Cup performances over the last 2 years. Look, it's good. It's good. We want that. We want more faces. We want more names. We want a bigger pool of players. And the team that gets promoted, as we've already seen, will then become fully professional, paid cricketers with a much larger exposure in Division 1. So it's not just the fact that you're playing a higher level of cricket, it's your exposure is going up exponentially. So it's a huge, huge incentive for, as you say, I would say the top 3 teams in Division 3 can all go up. Huge incentive for them.
Yeah, look, the top 3 teams in Division 2 are Northwest Dragons, who came second in the previous year's One Day Cup and now are currently leading in this year's One Day Cup. Tabiseng Nini, if you remember the under-19 team, the opening bowler, she is part of that squad and looking really good there. Eastern Province, which is, well, from a provincial perspective, would be the Warriors. They are also in I think in 3rd position on the log, behind Easterns as well. And essentially, if you win from those 3 teams, whoever wins this tournament, mini tournament, this end of season tournament, they go through. So you've got Easterns out there in Benoni, you've got Eastern Province, and you've got Northwest Dragons. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how they get through. The only problem is yesterday it rained out, at least that was the start of it, but it rained out. And so it's going to be quite interesting to see how they get through some of the games today, as well as today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. It ends on Wednesday. There's some very interesting clashes here that are going to be happening. If I go through some of the games, Eastern Province play Easterns on the 1st of April in Bloom. And just looking where the Northwest Dragons are playing the Warriors today, Eastern Province today. So 2 big games that have promotion ramifications for the women's for the Hollwywoodets Pro Series. So it's going to be interesting to see lots of cricket with context and urgency on there. Okay, let's move over to the men's. Lots of things have happened in terms of the movement on the log, but let's go through the 3 fixtures that happened this week. Western Province. I have an issue with this, Tim, but I'm assuming a draw would have helped you. You need as many points. Why in 4-day domestic cricket do you feel like you want to score 600 runs and think you're going to win the game? It just beggared my belief. I was like, no, guys, the moment you get to over 100, whatever you get, just leave it and try win the game from there. But yeah, okay, that's fine. Western Province, 592 for 8. drawing with Boland, who scored 318 in their first innings attempt. And then Western Province scored 106 for 2 and they declared. And Boland decided to bat out the day at 197 for 3. There's no rain involved, that side of the world. There's nothing. But Tim, I'm going to go back to my issue with all of this. In a 4-day game, it's not a 5-day game, 4-day game. Why are you in the business of putting down 600 runs and thinking you're going to win? You already know the pitch is a better pitch because you scored 600 runs. It's not because you were amazing that you scored 600 runs. Why are you going to 592? 450 is perfectly fine. And you win that game if you said 450. But, okay, Tim, let's go through the guys who did well. Dezorzi, 141. Grant Wilson also scored 92 for Boland. Carl Verena, 131. Not out. Aviam Kijima, 63. Not out. He's having a good season. George Linder scoring 91. Well, we know him. Water's wet. Sean van Berg, 6 for 126. Peter Malan scoring 102. And Clyde Fortain, 129 for Boland. Tim, what was going on there? Didn't you guys want to win?
No, we didn't. That's, I get your argument, but no, we've done enough in terms of winning to just about survive in Division 1. What this was about was getting as many batting points as possible. The importance of winning wasn't there. It was about just not lose. It was flat throughout the 4 days. Very easy to bat on, lots of runs to score, make it a hay, enjoy it, go out, enjoy yourself, put in the runs, put in the performances, come back next season ready for the new challenge. It wasn't about, this was not a win or cost fixture. Let's put it that way. It was not a win or cost fixture. That's basically it.
Okay, now I hear you. Okay, next one. The Dolphins, in a very rain-affected game in Johannesburg, drew with the Lions, only managed to get 357 over like 4 days. So it was only like 140 overs that were bowled. Lions 250 for 2. Chapanti Tola scored 157. Josh Richards 130 not out. Zubair Hamza also contributed 62 not out. Cody Yusuf 4 for 54. This was a draw. Unfortunate for the Dolphins, right? Because they would have needed a lot more of the batting points, and it's effectively put them in third position. Whereas the Lions just keep on extending their lead with some batting points, as well 250 runs worth of batting points as well to add on to the draw. So nothing much to be spoken about in Johannesburg. We just sat there watching the rain. That's what we did. Yeah, it was just sad.
Indeed, as you said, the only ramifications there were in terms of the top two, because the top two will play the 4-day final. And it was a setback for the Dolphins, definitely, with all that rain. Otherwise, as you say, it wasn't much to write home about. Good performances, but very small, what's the word? Very few performances, let's put it that way.
Yeah. And obviously the last game, another draw. Northwest Dragons came up to Centurion to take on the Titans. Titans scoring, the Dragons scoring 345. Titans scoring 463 for 9 declared. And Northwest ending up 189 for 1. Also a rain-affected game, but Matthew Kleinfeld scoring 97. Hardest Yoon, who was playing for Northern Cape in Division 2, taking 532 for Northwest. Vian Libber 84 for Northwest. Carl Peterson 112 also. Deval Brevis scoring 148 and Neil Brunt scoring 82 not out. I know Luandre also scored a 58 in this game to help the Titans get a draw. Northwest needed a win. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get there. Bringing in Hardest to help them save the day is like the most anti-relegation move I would make, but they needed a fast bowler and he took 5 wickets for them. But yeah, they got more cricket out there in Pretoria than we did here in Joburg, but there was still some rain delays and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. This was a hammer blow for the Knights, who didn't play this week. They needed Northwest to win. If Northwest had won, it would have put a lot of pressure at the Titans. to finish in that top 4 spot because the Knights need to finish 4th. So it was unfortunate for the Northwest. I thought they played, to a large extent, I thought they played really, really well. But the losers, the main losers, definitely were the Knights in this fixture. Brewers played well. I mean, I know I was a little bit critical of him last week, but I've got to give credit. It's still 148 at virtually run a ball. I would still like him to play to time innings, but be that as it may, it was an innings of note and a special innings of that, definitely. Particularly with the fact that Northwest did have Hardus in the attack, and Hardus bowled really, really well. I thought he was, in both innings, he was really, really cranking it up, shall we say.
Yeah. No, look, there's still some value in there. There's still a professional cricketer in there. And yeah, look, as a loan signing, an injury replacement, there is no issues. Just worried about where the Miguels and the Duans and the Gideon Peters are when you are rolling out Hardest for you. But Manye also got a half century in this game, or a very important one low down the order, to kind of help them not lose this game. I think the key thing here was they needed to put up a score of close to 350, and they did in the first innings. And you then kind of not necessarily let the other team, but you kind of, if you don't want to lose the game, you kind of let the game meander. And to a certain extent, Northwest did try to not let it meander, but Devo Brevis and the guys had, and Neil Brandt had other ideas. Yeah, so that brings us to the log, the table. There's some movements at the top, at the bottom. There's movements all around, except for the team sitting at the top, or the Lions, who are first with 3 wins and 3 draws at 104.14 points. They have not secured a final spot yet, but the chances of them getting knocked out of the top 2 are still actually pretty high. If the Titans and Dolphins manage to win this week, and the Lions don't against the Knights, then they might find themselves in a little bit of trouble. Then you got the Titans in second position. They've gone even 2-2-2, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. The Dolphins have gone 2-3 in third position, 2 wins, 1 draw, and 3 draws and 1 loss, on 91 points. So to have Western Province, 2 wins, 1 loss, and 3 draws, 88.84. It was interesting. It feels like a month ago when we all thought Western Province was going down, but clearly a couple of wins really helps there, and draws just to bring them back in. Brilliant. 1 win, 1 loss, and 4 draws, 85 points. They could still make it into the final, right? But they need to get, they need to get 24 points. They need maximum batting points and close to perfection on the bowling points in order for them in over and above the winning points, right? And then obviously the teams that won't make the final and are looking at relegation are the Knights, sitting in 6th position with 1 win, 2 losses, and 3 draws at 75 points. They can still make 4th. I think their target is to make 4th. Even if it's a draw and a win, they're just going to have to hope that Province and Boland don't get wins on their end, and their draws are more just rained out entirely, essentially. And then Northwest Dragons, 6 matches but no wins, 1 loss and 5 draws. The Warriors, 3 losses and 3 draws, sitting at the bottom there. It's safe to say that the Warriors are going to finish in last. The only thing for them is they need the Knights to make sure that the Knights do not win in Bloom against the Lions, and hope the Lions try to secure their final spot. So there's a lot to play for here in essence, Tim. It's coming down to the wire, Tim. So the Warriors are effectively finishing last, and the question obviously is the Knights. That game in Bloom, that's a game everyone is going to be watching because it has ramifications. But the only problem is, if everyone else around them wins, then you have a situation.
Yeah. So basically, the Knights have to finish 4th to survive in Division 1. They have to finish 4th. There are a myriad of ways that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
As you have already said, if they beat the Lions and Western Province and Northwest draw and Portland beat the Titans, that is possible. Now, it's unlikely because, as you
Mm-hmm.
say, the Lions are table topping and they win games that they have to win. And they still have to win this game to guarantee themselves into that 4-day final. They don't have to, they're not in a position they can put in a couple of youngsters having guaranteed that spot. So they, unfortunately, which was not good for the Knights, they have something to play for. But from a competition point of view, the fact that everybody has something to play for is outside of the Warriors. Warriors can't change where they are. It doesn't matter what happens in their game. They can't change the position. Every other team, so 7 out of the 8, have something to play for mathematically, right into the final game of the fixture, which is what we want. We want a competition where it goes down to the wire, and it is literally going down to the wire in terms of who plays at the final and who gets relegated. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, and to put down the relegation table, obviously we're looking at the bottom right there. So the Knights are sitting in last position with only 2 points from the 4-day and 3 from the 1-day cup. The Warriors have 5 points from the 1-day cup, 0 points from the 4-day, so that probably won't change, the 4-day series points, and 2 points from the T20, which won't change. Remember, Tim, the other thing was that, and then we can say Northwest is safe, essentially. But the other thing here is that, remember, the Knights have lodged an appeal of that decision to move the Warriors out of the semi-final of the 1-day cup, and that whole transformation case that the Dolphins had against the Warriors for the Warriors fielding an ineligible player. The issue there is that they changed the points, but they didn't take away the net run rate. And the Warriors finished in 4th position based on net run rate over the Knights, who were in 5th and got 3 points. The Knights were saying, remove the net run rate of that game, and if you do so, we'll be sitting in 4th, i.e. 2 more points, and the Warriors will get the 3. So the 1-day cup points will be swapped out. So the Knights will have 7 points and the Warriors will end up on 5 points, and then the Warriors would be relegated. So we might end up in the boardroom for this one, but for now, the Knights need to finish in 4th, and they have their fate in their hands in order for them to make it through. And just for us to go through the fixtures before we go to your team of the week, the Titans play Boland, right? So from a Knights perspective, the Knights would want the Titans to beat Boland, right? Because Boland is right above them, right? Titans, you win out and do that. The Knights obviously wanting to win against the Lions. That's the game in Bloem. And then the Dragons against Western Province. You want the Dragons to win against Western Province in order for you to be in Western Province's position. But most likely from there, from the Knights' perspective, a draw would work here. So the same thing that happened at Newlands on Saturday over the weekend is exactly what the Knights want. Western Province going 600 runs, not caring, and the Dragons going holding on because they're safe, right? Both. So there's no jeopardy in that Dragons Western Province game. But if Province wanted to make the final, they could. It's slim, but a win with a couple of batting points could help. The Warriors against the Dolphins. That also is a non-consequential game. If the Warriors win, fine, doesn't change much. It won't move them up the needle because the team that they need to chase is the Knights. They can't, even if they got 1 point against, again, even if they manage to put the Dragons down at the bottom and they get 1 point, it still won't change their fate. Essentially of sitting at the bottom. It might help, but it's not going to, because I think the thing is, everyone's looking at the Knights at this point in time, and the Knights actually have to win, and then they have to hope that the Boland doesn't win, and who else? Because I think the Knights are in 6th, right? Boland doesn't win, and Western Province somehow finds a way to draw a game, if not for Northwest to beat them.
Yeah, basically, Knights want to swap places with Western Province. To do that, they can work. The top three can do what they like. But to do that, the Knights want that game to be rained out. Because if that's rained out, Province go to 94 points. 94.84 maximum. If the Knights win, if they just win and get a couple of batting points, yeah. So if they go and get the win, that will take them to 91. Then they would have to still get some points around the batting and the bowling. So the Knights have to win and get points with batting and bowling and hope that the Province fixture is just a draw. They don't want Province to draw and get points from batting and bowling. They don't want any extras for Province. Just a straight draw.
Yeah, which is pretty tough actually, but yeah, it's going to be quite interesting and see how that goes. But they need help from friends and also CSA. Yeah. There's that card in their back pocket where the moment relegation gets confirmed, they're going to be like, CSA, can you make a determination? It's going to probably happen before the weekend arrives. I think it'll be best if they did that then. In order for them. And to a certain extent, the Warriors don't have a leg to stand on. This is procedural. If you're going to take the full game out, take the full game out of the standings. Don't just take the points and do that. So, Okay. Now, let's go to your team of the week, Tim. We only had one division happening this week. And you had Joshua Richards in that rained out game, opening the batting with Tony DeZorzi, who scored 141, Devil Brevis scoring 148, and then Tapang Ditole also coming through with 157. Cal Verena, good to see a Protea in here as well, along with DeZorzi in there in the middle. Clyde Fortain, I don't know who keeps in this thing for the Boland, not Free State, apologies. I don't know who keeps it. Does Clyde keep Tim?
Clyde.
Okay.
Oh, I don't mind. Clyde or Kyle will do. I don't mind.
Doesn't matter. Okay. And then you have Sean von Berg, who's always been here. Huddersfield makes his Division 1 debut after joining the Dragons for this week. And then you have Cody Yusuf, who's been a mainstay here. And a nice story, Jody Lawrence coming in. He's been a great story if you want to listen to the story, last week's podcast. But essentially, Jody Lawrence has been brought in by Province. He's been a journeyman in the club scene down there in Cape Town, and he's had 2 great games flying near the sun like Icarus and taking wickets.
Yeah, I love it. Somebody sent me a picture about 2 months ago about all of the older players within the structures. And there were a lot. We've got a lot. And asked me, so who's going to be hanging up their boots? And I've got to be honest, I thought that Jody would have this season, and this would be his look. I'm good enough. But I've proved it. Thanks very much. I've proved it. I'm not going to go and do something else. I actually think his performances suggest that actually he's going to keep going. He's bowling as if he's 27, 28. He's bowling his heart out. He's giving 100%. He has been such an important cog within this fight back from Western Province to stay in Division 1. He's been absolutely vital, picking up very, very crucial wickets at vital times when a lot of the bowlers were actually struggling. So I'm delighted for him. My top 6 all score hundreds, so that just speaks for itself.
Made your life very easy.
Very, very easy. But that was it was a tricky one. I had a choice to make between Jody and Mokmangwana. Mokmangwana also got four wickets in the Province game. But I just thought with the balance of the side, I went with Jody Lawrence. And it is a little bit of a fairy tale for me. Mokmangwana will definitely be in the team on a consistent basis going forward. He's a rising star. But I just loved Jody's story. Giving it all at the club scene, not necessarily being seen by
Mm.
important people and coming through the system. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but the top club level in Cape Town is strong. Matthew de Villiers, he comes from there. He used to score 200 for the Warriors. Jody Lawrence, 10 years plus of scoring, getting a lot of wickets, is performing. Not Mahima,
Gijima.
left up. No, another Warriors spinner. Got his name now. Anyway, he went. He was not being seen for about 6 years. He was a first-class cricketer. Then he went away, played club cricket in the Cape for 6 years, came back. Robbie P brought him back, and he was really good. My memory is leaves me. But my point is, there are players with that system that are good enough if you give them the chance. Gavin Kaplan, the Boland, then another one from the Cape club structures, doing exceptionally well at Boland. There are guys there. It's not just a graveyard. You don't go there and just and your career dies. There is something to play for down there.
Look, I think it's good. I think it's good that there is some sort of, you can see that there's some sort of progression through the system. Obviously, even here up north, Northerns, as well as in Gauteng, around here, there is that progression. And you can look at the guys, Mitch Van Buren, even guys in Division 2. Shane Dadswell comes from this part of the world, and he was dominating club bowlers here in Johannesburg. Donovan Ferreira, I spoke about Mitch, how dominant he's been for old Eds, and essentially it's been that Cody and the guys, everyone comes through those systems, and to a certain extent you want guys to get opportunities, right, and for guys to play. I think from this new system, we've been leaning towards younger guys getting opportunities, which is why Jody's story is so great, because he's an older person and has been given an opportunity after such a very long time. A lot of the guys who are good enough to play franchise level cricket have gone elsewhere, other parts of the country, to try and see if they can't make those first teams. A guy like Jody chose not to do that, and he stayed, and he's finally gotten rewarded, right? And to a certain extent, that if I was a Division 2 side, those in that club scene, that club area, that's where I'd find players. And you can see that with Southwestern Districts and some of the players they have that they've plucked out of that Western Cape club scene. And to a certain extent, some of the teams up here taking players out of Northerns, having them come play for Mpumalanga and Limpopo, to just give them those opportunities. And that's essentially what has been. Obviously, we're trying to everyone's trying to figure out a restructure, but this is a good story, and congratulations to Jody Lawrence on making it in and having a great time of it, because even if it doesn't happen again, he'll know he did it, right? And I think that's the more important thing. And yeah, it's about, but that's why you play club cricket, right? To progress through, and took him a very long time. Yeah. Okay. Tim, it feels like it's a short show, but it's still fine because we've given the people information. Remember, YouTube. Please go to YouTube. All 4 of these games, but the game that you need to be having on your main TV screen. So if you've got TV, you've got a laptop, you've got a phone, and you've got an iPad, right? 4 devices, right? What's on the main TV screen is Knights versus Lions. The Knights have to do it. The Knights are fighting for their lives here, right? So that's the game that you need to have. The game on the iPad, because it's like a bigger screen, is that Titans game versus Boland. That game has a whole lot of ramifications, because if Boland somehow beat the Titans, the Knights are going home, regardless of what happens, right? Cool. Then the game on your laptop screen, right? You can watch it at work, you can leave it there, it just run in the background. That's that Dragons versus Western Province game, right? Western Province are going to be looking to try and get themselves into a final, but it's a game of zero consequence. And if you saw what they did last week, they went on and scored a mammoth ton of runs. So if you just want to check how the Proteas are doing, how Tony's batting before we go to to the World Test Championship, how Kyle's batting looks like before the World Test Championship, go there. Even Dave Patterson, go have a look. You can do that. And then the one on your small phone screen, because yes, it has ramifications for the finals because of the Dolphins when they secure themselves a final spot, but and against the Warriors, it's more of a if the Dolphins won't get into the finals, so it's going to be quite interesting, but also something to watch, right? So yeah, it's going to be great games. I think Dolphins will want to. I think Quinton Friend, from a coaching perspective, will want to make a second final in a row, even though they didn't win that first. Did they share the one day cap? No, they won the one day cap. Yeah, they did. So you'd want a second trophy in there, whereas the Titans are looking to make sure that it's a North South derby. It's a Yixkay derby with the Lions as well. So yeah, 4 games this week. The final 4 of the season before we all sit and watch one game being played on a Tuesday, I think, until a Friday, which makes no sense to me at all. But anyway, that would be the final of the One Day Cup.
Just one thing, because you did touch on it. So Province will have those 3 Proteas. They're not going to the county teams just yet. They will be available for this final game. Keith Judgeon of Borland, however, will not be available. He's going to Kent for his stint. So just to keep an eye on in terms of team selection, that is what's happening.
Yeah, big day, big week for the Knights, and possibly for the CSA. If I was CSA, I'd try to get this thing done this week. I'd try to get that verdict done this week, and to have by the time we get to Thursday, everyone knows where they stand, right? That's what we'd like. Outside of that, enjoy the cricket. We've got one more as the season goes down. One more week of 4-day cricket, all on YouTube, CSA's YouTube channel. Please go check it out there. And yeah, outside of that, you can watch the IPL, but I don't think Tim and I watch the IPL. It's like I said, it's in the background of my life. I've seen some of the performances, but it's in the background of my life, and we're not an IPL show. Good, well done to the South Africans who are there, who are doing well. There are those who are giving us problems, but outside of that, yeah, well, it is the IPL after all. They have subs, they have impact players, so I don't take that seriously. Anyway, remember, please, if you're watching us on YouTube and you like this, please do like and subscribe. Please follow us on X at Full Quarter Pod. We'll be giving regular updates of the 4-day series games as they happen. So if you're outside and you're missing the stuff, we'll be there on X. Please do follow us there. Also, Apple Podcasts and Spotify to listen to us if you also can't find your way near a YouTube channel. And then also remember, you can buy some coffee at Buy Me a Coffee to help us keep this podcast going as we try to get you more content and more great content for you, our beloved listener and viewer. Outside of that, we take comments. Please send through your comments. We try to answer all of the comments across all the platforms. And so, yeah, please do. Outside of that, it's goodbye and lesale kakagiso.